So now I want to talk about the Doppler effect. Okay, and actually the best thing you can do if you want to understand the Doppler effect from a visual point of view, because it's not that easy for me to show it on a 2D screen, is to look up a video on YouTube. And if you just do a search for small boy demonstrating the Doppler effect, to me it's the most effective demonstration online. It's just a little boy in a swimming pool jumping up and down, and he basically creates waves. And then as he's jumping up and down, he moves towards a boundary of the pool. So effectively, you can see the waves that he's creating. He's creating a regular wave by jumping up and down, but in the pool. But because he's physically moving, the waves that he's generating are bunching together, because the first wave that he generates is here, the next wave he generates is here. So effectively, the waves tend to move towards each other. And then if somebody was standing somewhere near where the boundary is, they would see waves coming at them that were closer together. The peaks were closer together. So effectively, they would be seeing or experiencing a different frequency than the frequency that is actually occurring. Okay? So let me just draw my interpretation of it, but as I say, it's not that easy when you're just trying to draw it on the screen. So here's your source. Your source is emitting a wave. It could be a sound wave, okay? It's emitting a wave of a certain frequency, okay? So over time, the wave travels from here to here, to here, to here, to here. And right behind it is another wave traveling, okay? But if we just take, this wave is traveling from here to here over time, okay? So we have somebody here. I'll draw somebody here with their ear here, like this. Okay? They are the observer. They look more like Frankenstein, but they're the observer. Okay. Now, the observer will hear the frequency, the same frequency as the source right now. But if the source moves, then the next time the source will emit something, having moved that far, it's going to emit something at this stage here. Okay? Effectively, what happens then is, say this is the original wave that's moving out, this new wave is emitted here. So it will move out from there, but effectively it has kind of caught up, or is kind of gaining ground, because the source is moving. It has gained ground on the original sound that was emanating. So the person who is sitting here is going to experience waves that are hitting his ear more frequently than the actual frequency of the source's sound. Okay? So the fact that the source is moving means that as it's emitting the waves as it's moving, so these waves are gaining ground on the waves that are already there. Let me see, there's a diagram in your book as well that shows it, might be a wee bit easier. So basically you have your waves bunching together for the person who is listening here. So if your source originated from here, that's the first wave that came from here. Because the source was moving when it emitted the second one does not take the same length of time to reach the same position. And the same with the third. Okay? That's the best I can do. The small boy demonstrating the Doppler effect is the best one that I know of online that can really show you what I'm talking about. Now, unfortunately I don't have a projector, or I'd put it up. Anyhow, the maths of this, the frequency that is, this is called the apparent frequency. So this is what the observer hears. That's not the actual frequency. That is equal to the speed of the wave multiplied by the frequency of the wave. Now that's the actual frequency of the wave divided by, and in your log tables you're going to see a formula that has a C plus or minus V. Okay, the reason you're going to see that is, in the situation where I'd shown you where the source is moving towards the observer, okay, now it could equally be the observer moving towards the source, it's just relative to each other. So when the source is moving towards the observer, then the observer will experience a higher frequency than the actual frequency. So F dash will be a higher frequency than F. If the source is moving away from the observer, then the waves will get further apart. For the observer, he will experience a wave coming, but because the next wave that's emitted is going to be when the source has moved this way, he's going to perceive a larger distance between waves than actually is occurring in terms of what's being emitted. That's just because the source has moved away from him. So in that situation, F dash will be lower. The apparent frequency that the observer experiences will be lower than the actual frequency of the source sound, the sound of the source. So this is how you decide whether you use the plus or the minus. If there's a plus underneath, hopefully you will see that this number is bigger than if there's a minus underneath. If there's a plus here, that's a bigger number. C plus V is a bigger number than C minus V. Now, so this overall apparent frequency, if this is a bigger number, the apparent frequency will be smaller, because a bigger number underneath means you're dividing by a bigger number, which will make this number smaller. So when that's a plus, this F dash is going to be lower than if it's a minus. If we make it a minus, CF over C minus V, that F dash is going to be, this is divided by a smaller number than this, because C minus V will be smaller than C plus V. So this overall number will be bigger. So that is a higher number than that. So C plus will give you the lower and C minus will give you the higher. So that means that we know that when the source is moving away from the observer, that we will get a lower frequency. So that's the formula that you use when the source and the observer are moving away from each other, relative to each other. Okay, that could be the observer stopped and the source moving away, or the source stopped and the observer moving away. This is the formula that you use when the source and the observer are effectively getting closer together. Okay, so the relative motion between them is towards each other. Again, why? When they're moving towards each other, you know you get a higher frequency. When they're moving away, you get a lower. When this number here is a bigger number than this, so when you're dividing by a bigger number, you end up with a smaller number. So this F that you get from doing this is smaller than the F that you get from doing that. Okay, so that's the formula you use when you want the frequency to get higher, which is when the source is approaching the observer. That's the formula you use when the source is moving away from the observer. Okay, I think I'll do a separate video to actually do a couple of the maths questions, because I'm afraid of running out of time and it takes ages to load them up. Okay.